There are a whole slew of brand new cameras that are about to hit the market. Rumored are the Canon R6 Mark III, the Sony a7 IV, and the recently released OM Systems OM3. But every time one of these comes out, I always ask myself, should I upgrade? And I think it's a question that a lot of us ask ourselves as these come out. I want to help you answer that today. So I have got 10 questions that'll help guide you from asking, is it time to upgrade, to purchasing that next camera? And to do this, I have made a handy dandy flow chart. So let's start at the top of the chart. Is your camera in working order? If it is, excellent. If not, is it fixable? If you've got a problem that's inside of there, can it even be fixed? If you got something as simple as maybe the screen needs to be replaced or your EVF is having some problems, you might be able to get that repaired. Great. The next question you have to ask yourself is it worth fixing? If you've got an original Sony Alpha 7, you may not want to go through the time, hassle, and cost to repair that versus simply replacing that body with a new one. I know, let's put the consumerism and constant purchasing culture, capitalism thing aside here for a minute and really just focus on the tool itself. Is it worth fixing? If it's going to cost you $1,000 to fix it and $1,500 for a new camera or a new to you used camera, maybe you want to do that math and say, should I continue to carry this along versus getting a lot of upgrades in something like maybe a used a7 IV when the a7 V comes out? And if the answer is yes, congratulations, you made it to the end. If the answer is no, let's bring all of those back down to the other side and ask the next critical question. Are you a professional or someone that makes money with their camera? This one can be difficult because if you're somebody that freelances or does a little bit of work on the side, maybe you don't make as much money in this space. But if it's something that you continue to do, you continue to see revenue from, I would put yourself in the yes category for this. For those that are professional, let's move on to the next question. Is this your primary camera body? If you are a wedding photographer, you likely have multiple bodies because you have to. If this is your primary body, great. If not, we move on to our next question. Does this camera cost you time, money, or efficiency that turns into real dollars? It may not be the actual camera feature that's holding you back, but it might be a workflow problem. Perhaps you have an old camera that you're using as a secondary that isn't even in the same ecosystem and you're constantly having to shot match and manage colors and different spaces and things like that, which even though that can be done, it does take time. If it is, we're going to bring it back around to the features that you actually need. In both of these cases, either this is your primary camera body or it's your secondary and it's costing you money. What are the features for you that would make that worth the investment? What are the things that you critically need to help improve your process, your workflow, and overall your speed to delivery? Make that feature list. Really sit down. That's your first action item. Next, get a list of the cameras that match those needs. It could be amazing to have a Fujifilm X100VI, but it doesn't match any of your other workflow things. So even if you could find one, is that really the solution that you need? Probably not. If you're a pro, you very likely already know you want to stay in the same camera system perhaps, so you're already picking a brand. You already know that maybe you're a wildlife photographer or a sports photographer, so you need something that's on the fast side. You likely understand what your track is maybe within your own camera brand. This is not specific to Sony. I shoot on Sony, but it doesn't have to be. With that, get that list of cameras that could suit this. And I would also encourage you to look at both new and used, because as new cameras come online, the previous versions all of a sudden drop in price and are highly available on the secondary market as people looking to upgrade right away jump onto that. You've seen this trend before. So figure out what's that complete list of bodies that would work for you. And then, will this pay for itself? Will the upgrade to the camera itself pay for whatever the difference is between what you're using today and what you would be using tomorrow? If the answer is yes, congratulations, it's time for an upgrade. If the answer is no, that brings us to our question where some of our points start to converge. If you're a professional and this isn't your primary camera body, this is a secondary that doesn't cost you any issues within your workflow or cost you money in some way, or maybe you found your feature set, you found the list of cameras and you decided it's not going to pay for itself, or you're an amateur that really just doesn't need it, let's bring all those paths together and ask ourselves the critical question, is this holding you back creatively. Maybe there's something creatively that you want to do and you feel like your current camera body is constraining you, and some new thing that just came out is going to give you the creative freedom that you want. Perhaps you'd be upgrading to something like a Sony camera body that has pixel shift and can take a massive sensor and turn a 61 megapixel sensor like my A7R5 here into a 200 megapixel photo. Maybe that's the creative thing that you as a landscape photographer need to really make all of this pop. If the answer to that is no, and there's not a feature that you can point to that is holding you back creatively or would be enhancing you creatively, then you have to ask yourself the simple question: do you just want it? Is this something you just want because you saw the brand new hotness is coming out, you want to jump on the trend, you want the latest and greatest, you just want it? There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's your life. If it's something that you want to do, don't let people tell you how to run your life. Go ahead and get it if it's something you want. But you have to ask the next question first. And this is where all of our paths are going to converge. And it is the number one question when you've gone through all of this analysis that you have to answer. Is it in your budget? When I first built this chart, I actually started with this at the top. But I thought you should really go through the exercise to understand what it is you want, what it is you need, and why you're buying the camera before you even talk about your budget. Because ultimately, this is the limiting factor. Is it within your budget? And for most people, the answer is probably no. If that's the case, stay to your budget. Do not go over budget. If you're a professional and you went down that track, you already know that this isn't going to pay for itself. So you're putting yourself in the hole or your business in the hole. Now, maybe that's okay. Maybe it's in the budget because you can write it off on your taxes at the end of the year, or you can CapEx it across in 5 years on your business, and that's totally fine for you. But if you're an amateur and you're putting yourself in the hole to get a new tool that you don't need, that isn't holding you back creatively, that's a tough sell, because at the end of the day, all of these things need to get you out there and creating. That's the whole goal statement, is that you can pick this up and go make something cool. And if any of one of these tracks got you down to your budget and you said, you know what, I do want it, it's amazing, it's going to be wonderful, it's holding me back creatively, but it's out of my budget, don't upgrade. Just wait. I want you to look at camera bodies that are now a few years old. Let's look at the revolutionary Sony a7 III. The cost of that camera has continued to drop and drop and drop. And as a brand new a7 V is on the horizon here within a couple of months, if rumors are to be believed, that camera is going to crater in price because there are now 2 generations that exist above it, and the prices of the a7 IV are going to start to drop. We've already seen that on new models, let alone used models. That will apply downward pressure on stuff like the a7 III. Is the a7 III still a great camera? Absolutely. You could buy that camera still today, and it would be an excellent choice for you. The photos on it are great. The video on it is great. Does it have the latest and greatest in AI autofocus and the absolute best in resolution and 120 frames per second slow motion? No, it doesn't. And that's okay if it fits into your budget. Because the last thing you want is a tool that you have overpaid for and put yourself into debt for. Don't stress yourself about gear. A professional could pick up any one of these cameras and make incredible work with it. It is not the tool. It is absolutely the person behind the camera that makes that content great. Do not be fooled by all the shiny objects that are out there. There are people that are shooting on film today that are using cameras that were made in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and they make incredible stuff. If you haven't seen the work from ExpiredFilmClub, there's a great example. This is a photographer who has been hired in a collaboration with the likes of the NFL to go and shoot a game and expose that film in the bathroom at the stadium. You don't need the latest and greatest to be able to get some amazing work. So there were 10 questions that let you know, is it time to upgrade? A lot of this might seem very straightforward for those of us that have gone through this exercise a number of times. But sometimes even getting back to the basics and just running through this dispassionately and objectively can make sure that you make the right decision about your next camera. What choice did you end up making? And if you are going to get a new camera, what camera are you going with? Love to see all of your answers down in the comments. I got a lot of great stuff coming up. There are multiple trips that I'm going to be taking, including doing a bunch of portrait work at C2E2 in Chicago. If you're headed to C2E2, drop me a line. And if you are a cosplayer that's headed to C2E2 and you want some shots, I still have spots open and available for mini sessions. And if you're headed there, I hope to see you at the con. I'll catch you on the next one.